So we had a debate on Saturday. Now, you may not have heard about it, and if that's the case, well, you're not the only one. Now, according to The Hill, that looked at different multiple ratings agencies, right? So The Hill took a look at how many people were watching, and they came up with the figure that the Democratic debate on Saturday was actually the lowest rated debate so far. Interesting. Now, the CBS debate only got about 8.5 million viewers. Now, you might be hearing, oh, wow, 8.5 million. That's decent. That's a lot of people, right? Well, that's only a sliver of the audience for the previous debates in the cycle. For example, the first Democratic debate that happened back in October, they got about 15.3 million viewers. But compared to the Republican debates, even that is a paltry number. When it came to the GOP debate, there was an estimated 24 million people that watched the first GOP debate on Fox News, followed by 23 million people at the second debate on CNN in September. That's amazing. When you look at that and you compare that, the GOP, the first and second GOP debates, got about 3 times more viewers than the Democratic debate. Now, there's a problem with this. Now, my problem is the GOP, by having so many debates and having them so soon, well, they've actually been able to set the narrative. They've been able to set the tone of the election so far by, as I said, having more debates and by being the first. Now, for me, I got to wonder, if you're the DNC chair, if you're Debbie Wasserman Schultz, why in the world would you want the GOP to be able to set the tone of the debates and of the election by having debates first? Why would you want to do that? Well, that brings me to the second thing. The timing of the second debate for the Democratic side. During prime time on a Saturday. Not a lot of people were watching TV. Not only that, but actually Iowa had a football game during that time. You're competing against not only the weekend, but football. You do that, you're going to lose. So as I said, this is a major problem for me. Because, look, the Democratic Forum, that was also on a Friday night, when pretty much no one was watching. And now they put a major debate on Saturday night. And no surprise, nobody watches. It gets a fraction of the viewership of other debates. Now, there's other factors, of course. We don't have carnival barker Donald Trump in there to entertain the masses like they have in the GOP debate. That's a fair point if you want to bring that out. We'll talk about it, but my point is, if you're the head of the DNC, don't you want as much media attention as you can get for your debates? Don't you want to show off your best candidates? Look, if you believe that Hillary Clinton is the best and has the best policies, or Bernie Sanders or Martin O'Malley, whoever you prefer, don't you want to see them do more debates and have them done in prime time? Don't you want more exposure? Now look, there were some excellent moments of the debate that should have been seen, as well as some cringeworthy moments. For example, the issue of money in politics was brought up repeatedly, not as a cringeworthy moment, but as an excellent moment. And Bernie Sanders and Martin O'Malley both went after Hillary Clinton on that very issue. Let's watch.
Senator Sanders, you've said that the donations to Secretary Clinton are compromising. So what do you think of her answer?
Not good enough. Here's the story. I mean, let's not be naive about it. Why over her political career has Wall Street been the major campaign contributor to Hillary Clinton? Now, maybe they're dumb and they don't know what they're going to get, but I don't think so. Here is the major issue when we talk about Wall Street. It ain't complicated. You got 6 financial institutions today that have assets of 56%, equivalent to 56% of the GDP in America. They issue 2/3 of the credit cards and 1/3 of the mortgages. If Teddy Roosevelt, a good Republican, were alive today, you know what he'd say? Break them up. Reestablish Glass-Steagall. And Teddy Roosevelt is right. That is the issue. Now, I am the only candidate up here that doesn't have a super PAC. I'm not asking Wall Street or the billionaires for money. I will break up these banks, support community banks and credit unions, credit unions. That's the future of banking in America.
Quick follow-up, because you...
All right, so that was a great moment where Sanders took on big money in our political elections. That's kind of an important issue. You would want a lot of people to see that, right? Right? Well, seemingly if you're the DNC, you apparently don't want a lot of people to see that. That's why you scheduled a debate on Saturday. Now there's another moment. Hillary Clinton firing back on taking Wall Street money by immediately pandering, right? And it was kind of a poor pander, but it worked. Let's watch.
You said they know what they're going to get.
Look,
what are they going to get?
I have never heard a candidate, never, who has received huge amounts of money from oil, from coal, from Wall Street, from the military-industrial complex. Not one candidate said, oh, these campaign contributions will not influence me. I'm going to be independent. Well, why do they make millions of dollars of campaign contributions? They expect to get something. Everybody knows that. Once again, I am running a campaign differently than any other candidate. We are relying on small campaign donors, 750,000 of them, $30 a piece. That's who I'm indebted to.
Governor,
Well, John, wait a minute. Wait a minute.
Personal
Look,
privilege, John.
He has
Secretary Clinton
basically
gets to
used his
respond.
answer to impugn my integrity. Let's be
No, I have
frank
not.
here. Oh, wait a minute, Senator. You know, not only do I have hundreds of thousands of donors, most of them small, and I'm very proud that for the first time, a majority of my donors are women, 60%.
All right, so for Hillary Clinton, that was a great moment where she pushed back against Bernie Sanders. However, that was misleading. Actually, when it comes to her donors, no, she's right that 60% of her small donors are women. That's a pretty good feat in itself. But when it comes to overall, where's all the money for her campaign coming from? I can guarantee you that 60% of the money is not coming from women. A lot of that money comes from Wall Street. A lot of that money comes from the pharmaceutical industry. It's not 60% from just women. Of her small donors, she's correct, but that's a misleading statistic. And so what do you get from that, right? Well, you get the opposition to reinstating Glass-Steagall. Now, I know she says, I'm going to go after the shadow banking industry. Okay, that's great. But I think we should have, we should have done what Iceland did, in my opinion, right? They broke up the banks, they jailed the bankers, and they passed tougher banking regulation. Now, why is Glass-Steagall important, right? Well, it's important because that's what prevents depositor money from being gambled on by the banks. So what they can do right now, without Glass-Steagall, they can take your money, depositor money, and gamble on Wall Street with it. Tie it to securities and bet on them. They can do that. Now, that's not what crashed the entire economy, but it certainly didn't help because that's what made your money on the line. That's why you lost a lot of money. Glass-Steagall, reinstating that, would actually prevent that. That's very important. Now, to her, that's not so much of a priority because the bankers, they want to gamble with that money. They want to take depositor money and use it for their own profit. It's not as if they win on one of their gambles, right? And you get a cut of that since part of it's your money. No, they get all the money. And if they lose it, you get screwed. That's why we need Glass-Steagall. Now, it's great, as I said, that she wants to go after the shadow banks, right? But maybe she should also support bankers not using your money to gamble with. Why would she be against that? Maybe it's because of all the money. And Bernie Sanders rightly tried to tie that into her opposition to Glass-Steagall. And of course, Sanders and O'Malley, Martin O'Malley, also hitting her over the head repeatedly with her ties to Wall Street, which prompted her to use a very, very desperate gamble, in my opinion, 9/11.
I represented New York, and I represented New York on 9/11. When we were attacked, where were we attacked? We were attacked in downtown Manhattan, where Wall Street is. I did spend a whole lot of time and effort helping them rebuild. That was good for New York, it was good for the economy, and it was a way to rebuke the terrorists who had attacked our country.
Right. 9/11. Now look, that's not to say that Bernie Sanders had the best night, right? He had a pretty poor opening statement when it came to Paris. You know, he talked a little bit about France, which was good, and then immediately went to, of course, going after millionaires and billionaires, his normal speech. Wasn't exactly the right time, a little cringeworthy, right? And Martin O'Malley surprisingly had the best night of everybody. He's had the best night of his entire campaign. That doesn't mean that it helped him all that much in the polls, as far as I've seen, but nonetheless, I'd say Martin O'Malley had a pretty good night. But you wouldn't know any of this. You wouldn't know it if you didn't watch it, because it was scheduled on a Saturday frickin' night. And that's the problem. Look, this debate, what was important about this debate is that it showed that Bernie Sanders and Martin O'Malley could repeatedly hit Clinton over Wall Street. That's her weakest point. Her ties to big money. Her ties to the financial industry. And look, when 80% of Republicans, 83% of Democrats, and 71% of independents say that we should get rid of Citizens United, overturn it, get rid of it completely. Over 80% of Americans say big money, we do not want it in our politics. We do not want billionaires and millionaires spending millions of dollars buying off our politicians through super PACs. Well, if you're Hillary Clinton, who has a massive super PAC with millions of dollars at the ready to go into networks for ads, well, you're going to be against that. That's going to be a weakness. It's going to be a weakness for you. And if you're Debbie Wasserman Schultz, head of the DNC, or head of the networks, right? You want as little of that kind of talk as possible. Look, Bernie Sanders is challenging your bottom line by railing against this form of legalized bribery in our political system. And see, that's one of the reasons I think that we're seeing so few debates. And when we do see a debate, it's at such an odd time. Look, having a major party debate on a Saturday, you look at that, that's incredibly rare. We've almost never seen this before. Remember back in 2008, we had 27 debates by this time. Now, I'm not saying we should go back to that. 27, a little too much. But you can find a middle ground. We have 6 total. 2 of them are after the first primary, they're after the first primaries. That's way too little. Way too little. I say the more debates, the better. Within reason. Within reason, of course. Now, I think one of the other reasons that they did this is to protect the frontrunner, Hillary Clinton, while she still has a lead. Now, as far as my personal feelings about that, is that I think it's sort of insulting to Hillary Clinton. She is actually a very good politician. She's very shrewd. And she's a shrewd politician. And she's very good at rhetoric. You've seen her. She's done very, very well in the debates. So why do you need to protect her? Don't you want her to have more time in the debates? Don't you want to show her off? Don't you want to show everyone why she should be the next president? If you believe in her, why protect her? I'm just asking. Why is the DNC establishment trying to protect Clinton so much? That's the question. Why? Why? Maybe they don't believe in her. And that's why it's insulting to Hillary Clinton. My personal feeling is that I think Bernie Sanders, he's a threat to the establishment. He wants to overturn their apple cart. And the powers that be, well, they don't like that. And they'll do whatever they can to prevent that. Even if it means trying to hide their own candidate.